My name is Christy Navarro. I am 32 years old. Last August, my dad stood up in front of nearly 30 people at our family cookout, cousins, neighbors, old friends of his from the block, and asked each of his kids to talk about what they had built in life. My brother Ryan went first. He is a senior director of finance at a big tech company up in Seattle. Talk options, corner office, the whole picture. My sister Danielle went next. She was wrapping up her medical residency at a hospital in Baltimore, about to publish her third research paper. Then my dad turned to me with that smile. The one I had known my whole adult life. The one that looked like pride on the outside but felt like a trap on the inside. And he said, "Your turn, Christy. What do you have to show?" So I gave him one number. Just one. And the whole backyard went so quiet you could hear the ice melting in the cooler. Before we go any further, if you are the kind of person who has ever felt like the underdog in your own family, hit that subscribe button right now. This story is for you. Drop a comment below and tell me where you are watching from and what time it is there. I read every single one. Now let me take you back. But first, let me set the scene so you understand exactly what I was walking into that day. It is a Thursday morning in July. I am on a job site in Phoenix in the middle of tearing out an old bathroom when my phone buzzes in my vest pocket. It is Dad. No hello. No, how are you doing? Just family cookout. August 15th. Your brother is flying in from Seattle. Danielle is driving up from Tucson. I expect you there, Christy. Noon. Backyard. Sandra is handling the food. Sandra is his girlfriend. She has been around for about 4 years. She is not a bad person. But she is not my mom. My mom, Carol Navarro, passed away 2.5 years ago from breast cancer. She went fast. She went hard. And she left a hole in this family that nobody knows how to fill. And Christy, Dad says right before he hangs up, wear something nice this time. Not your work stuff. I look down at my boots, covered in grout dust and dried concrete. I swallow the thing I want to say back to him. I am planning something special, he adds. A little round where each of my kids shares where they are at in life. What they have built. What they are proud of. My stomach drops straight through the floor. I know exactly what that means. Ryan will talk about his title and his paycheck. Danielle will talk about her research and her hospital. And I will sit there while Dad waits for me to explain why, at 32 years old, I never went back to finish college. After we hang up, I sit in my truck for a long time. There is a photo tucked under the sun visor. My mom at a backyard barbecue maybe 8 years ago, laughing at something off camera, holding a drink like she does not have a care in the world. She was the kind of woman who knew every neighbor by name and remembered every kid's birthday on the street. She was the glue. And on her last good night in that hospital room, she grabbed my hand and said, "Christy, do not let this family fall apart. Promise me." I promised. That promise is honestly the only reason I keep showing up to these things. Not for Dad. Not for Ryan. For her. But a sharing round in front of 30 people? That is not a family cookout. That is a courtroom. And my dad has already made up his mind who is on trial. Let me tell you about the pattern. 'Cause you need to understand what I was walking back into before any of what happened next makes sense. Thanksgiving when I was 20. Dad is introducing Ryan to the neighbors. This is my son Ryan. Going to the University of Washington. Going places. Then he turns to me. And this is Christy. She is still figuring things out. I was a second-year apprentice plumber at the time. I had just passed my first big certification exam. He never asked about it. Not once. Christmas when I was 25. Ryan gives Dad a fancy weekend trip. 2 nights at a resort in Sedona, spa and everything included. I bring him a coffee table I built from scratch myself. Claimed pine, hand-sanded, finished with beeswax. Took me 3 full weekends. Dad put it in the garage. 6 months later I came over and found it still wrapped in the moving blanket I had carried it in. Dad's 63rd birthday. I baked his favorite lemon cake from Mom's handwritten recipe card. Ryan called in from Seattle with tickets to a big game. Dad held up those tickets at dinner and said, "Now that is how you treat your old man." My cake sat on the counter, half gone, nobody mentioning it. 12 years of this. 12 Thanksgivings, Christmases, birthdays, and Sunday dinners where Ryan is the headline and I am the fine print at the very bottom. After a while you stop feeling it like a punch. Turns into background noise. Always there. Something you just learn to tune out. You take the corner chair, eat fast, and head out before dessert. But this cookout is different. This is the first big family event since Mom passed. It is supposed to be about keeping her memory alive, keeping the family close the way she always wanted. And my dad is turning it into a performance review. He is not going to compare us in side whispers this time. He is going to do it with a mic and a smile, right in front of every aunt, uncle, cousin, and neighbor who has known me since I was in elementary school. I already know the script. I have been reading it for 12 years. That same night, I call the one person who has never once made me feel like a footnote. Uncle Pete Walsh. My mom's younger brother. He runs a licensed plumbing and contracting business out of Albuquerque. Hands like a pair of vice grips. Voice like gravel on a tin roof. He is the one who first handed me a pipe wrench when I was 19 and said, "You have got good instincts, kid. Let's find out just how good." Should I even go? I ask him. "Your mama wanted you there," he says. "So you go. But Christy, you do not owe that man your dignity. Not even close." I tell him about the sharing round Dad has planned. Pete goes quiet for a moment. "You know what you have built, right?" he says. "I have seen your books. Properties, zero debt. That is more than most people with a whole wall full of degrees have done by 50. He's not going to care about that, Pete. Maybe not. But the numbers do not lie. Let the work speak for itself. Then he says something I keep turning over in my head. "Hey, also, I heard something about Ryan this past week. You remember my buddy Dale? Used to work at the same company as your brother. Dale says Ryan has been passed over for VP twice in the last year and a half. Something about a big reorganization over there. And word is..." Pete pauses like he is not sure whether to say the next part. "The word is Ryan and Melissa might be selling the house in Seattle." I sit with that. Selling it or losing it? Not sure yet. Just a rumor floating around. But Dale said the market up there has been rough and Ryan had some investment stuff go sideways on him. That information settles into the back of my mind like a rock dropping to the bottom of a still pond. "Drive safe on the 15th, Pete says before we hang up. "Your mama would be so proud of you, kid." She really would. The night before, I am sitting in my truck in my own driveway. Engine off. Windows down. It is that quiet Arizona desert kind of night where you can almost hear yourself breathe. On the passenger seat, there is a manila envelope. Inside is my quarterly financial report from my accountant and best friend from trade school, Keisha Monroe. She runs my numbers every 3 months without fail. Assets, what I owe, cash coming in, total value of everything. I flip it open. The number at the bottom has not changed since 2 weeks ago, but tonight it feels different. Tonight it feels like armor. I close it and slide it back under the seat. I think about texting Dad some excuse. Food poisoning. Emergency job call. Truck acting up again. He would not push back. He barely expects me to show up at these things anyway. But then I think about what happens if I do not go. Dad tells everyone Christy did not even bother showing up. And the story just keeps rolling. The footnote gets even smaller. The silence becomes the answer they all fill in for themselves. I look at the photo of Mom clipped to my dashboard. "I am going," I say out loud to no one. "Not for him. For you." I do not bring the folder. I leave it right there under the seat. But the number is burned into my head like a license plate you have read so many times it lives behind your eyelids. $1.4 million. I pull my keys out and go inside. Tomorrow I will drive 2.5 hours across the desert to the house I grew up in. And I still do not know yet what I am going to do when I get there. Quick pause, if you are new here, hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a story like this. Drop a comment right now. Where are you watching from? What city, what time? I want to know who is out there with me tonight. Saturday morning. The drive from Phoenix down to Dad's place in Tucson takes just over 2 hours if traffic is moving. I park along the curb behind a row of SUVs and pickup trucks. The house looks almost brand new, fresh paint, new shutters, the cracked front walk replaced with smooth pavers. Somebody spent real money on this place. The time I figured Dad finally dipped into his retirement savings. The backyard is packed. 25, maybe 30 people, folding tables end to end under a big rented canopy, coolers lined up along the fence, a Bluetooth speaker playing old country music, paper plates, red cups, and a catering spread of brisket big enough to feed a football team twice over. I know most of the faces. Aunt Sheila, Uncle Marcus, cousins I have not seen in a couple of years. Mrs. Pearson from 2 doors down, who has known me since I wore pigtails. Mr. Reyes from next door, retired loan officer, always has a careful look on his face like he is running numbers on everything he sees. And then, propped up on an easel right by the back steps, written in blue marker on a white poster board. Navarro family wins round. My chest tightens so fast it almost takes my breath away. Dad spots me from the porch. He walks over holding a beer and a sandwich. No hug. You actually made it. Good. Hi, Dad. He looks me up and down. Clean jeans, plain blouse, hair back. Where's that guy you were seeing? Matt or whatever. We split up 8 months ago, Dad. He turns back toward the yard. Sandra's in the kitchen if you want to say hi. Sandra greets me the way you greet a co-worker at the office holiday party. Quick smile, no eye contact, already moving on to the next thing. Lemonade's on the counter, she says over her shoulder. I pour a glass and stand at the kitchen window looking out at that poster board. Wins round. 12 years of being the family punchline, and now there is an actual scoreboard. Ryan shows up 45 minutes late, which is exactly on time for Ryan. Tesla rolls in slow and smooth like it wants the whole block to see it. Matte gray. Brand new model. Ryan steps out looking like he came straight off a magazine cover. Fitted blazer over a plain shirt, designer sneakers, those aviator shades pushed up into his hair like he just rolled in off a boat. His wife Melissa follows him, big designer bag, heels on gravel, sunglasses that probably cost more than my first truck payment. Their 2 boys, 8 and 10, pile out of the back seat in matching polo shirts. Dad practically jogs across the yard. There he is. Everybody, this is my son Ryan. Senior Director at Lighthouse Technologies up in Seattle. He squeezes Ryan's shoulder like he is holding up a trophy he won. We are very, very proud. Ryan works the crowd like a politician at a county fair. Handshakes, backslaps, so great to see you man to cousins whose birthdays he has not acknowledged in years. Then he spots me by the lemonade table. Hey, sis. Still driving that old Tacoma? Runs great. Sure it does. He grins and moves along. I stand there holding my cup and watch him drift from group to group like he is orbiting a sun he built all by himself. Then I notice something small. Melissa walks over to pay the brisket caterer, a guy with a trailer out by the side gate. She slides a card. He swipes it. Frowns. Swipes again. Her jaw tightens. She digs around in her wallet and pulls out a second card. That one goes through. She smiles like nothing happened. Nobody else notices. But I do. A few minutes later, my cousin Bianca, Aunt Sheila's daughter, 26 years old, sharper than anyone in this family ever gives her credit for, finds me near the cooler. She pulls me into a real hug. I am so glad you're here, she whispers. Same, I say. Bianca is the one person in this whole gathering who has always treated me like a real person and not a sad side story. She calls me twice a month just to check in. She is the only cousin who ever asked about my business and actually waited for the full answer. She stays close to me most of the afternoon, and I do not realize until much later just how much that matters. I am sitting in a folding chair near the fence, the kind of spot that is technically in the middle of everything but practically invisible, when I hear it. The thing that stops me from just surviving this afternoon and starts me thinking about something else entirely. Ryan's older son, Caleb, is standing near the dessert table right next to his dad. Caleb is 10, bright eyes, missing a front tooth, tugging on Ryan's sleeve. Dad, what does Aunt Christy do? Ryan does not even glance at me. She fixes pipes and stuff, he says. Like a handyman lady. Caleb scrunches up his nose. That's a real job? Ryan laughs. Easy and clean. Kind of laugh that does not need words because the meaning is already in the air. I go completely still. It is not the words. I have heard worse from Ryan over the years. What stops me cold is the audience. A 10-year-old boy just learned that what I do is not worth respecting. He learned it from his dad. In front of 25 people. And in 10 years, Caleb might be at some other gathering saying the same thing about some other working person, and he will not even remember where he first learned to think that way. That is the part people do not talk about with patterns like this. The damage is not just in what they say to you directly. It is in what they teach the next generation about you while you are standing right there. I look at the poster board. Wins round. I look at my dad over by the grill, laughing with Ryan. Both of them relaxed. Both of them completely at home. And for the very first time that day, something shifts in me. Not anger exactly. Something quieter than anger. Something more certain. Has anyone in your family ever made you feel like your work does not count? Drop a comment below. I want to hear your story. And if this is hitting close to home, share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Dad taps his beer bottle with a spoon. The backyard hushes down. All right, everyone, gather around. In honor of Carol's memory, who always wanted this family close together, we are doing something special today. He picks up a little wireless mic, the same one we used at Mom's last birthday party, and taps it twice. Each of my kids is going to share where they are at, what they have built, what they are proud of. He raises his bottle. Ryan, you start us off. Ryan stands up like he has been ready for this moment his entire life. He buttons his blazer. Steps forward. I am proud to be a Navarro. A few claps around the table. I am currently Senior Director of Finance at Lighthouse Technologies in Seattle. I run a team of 35 people. My total pay package goes deep into 6 figures. Aunt Sheila actually says, "Oh my lord," out loud. We bought a lake house last spring. The boys are in a great school. Life is really, really good. More clapping. Mr. Reyes nods slowly with his arms folded. Dad is glowing. Like he is watching the championship game and his team just scored. Then Ryan turns to look right at Dad. And most importantly, I was able to help Mom and Dad keep this house a couple years back. Because family takes care of family. He sits back down to the biggest applause of the whole afternoon. Dad squeezes his arm. I watch from my corner. Ryan said pay package. He did not say net worth. He did not say savings. He said package, which includes stock options that might be worth nothing, bonuses that get taxed down to almost half, and a salary that disappears the second the company decides to reshuffle. I know the difference because Keisha has explained it to me more than once. Most of the people sitting here do not. They heard 6 figures and filled in everything else themselves. Family takes care of family. That line floats in the air aimed straight at me. What it really means, Ryan helped. Christy did not. And nobody here knows the whole story about why. Danielle goes next. She has always been quieter than Ryan. She stands up but does not reach for the mic. I am finishing my residency at Mercy Medical in Baltimore, she says, hands folded in front of her. I published 2 papers this year. I am putting in my fellowship applications in the fall. Dad's eyes go shiny. My baby girl, a doctor. Can you all believe that? The applause is warm and genuine. People lean in, whisper things like incredible and Carol would have been so over the moon. Danielle sits back down and for just 1 second she looks across the table right at me. There is something in her face, guilt maybe, or something like bracing for what comes next. She swallows it and looks down at her plate. She knows what is about to happen. And she does not say a word to stop it. Behind me I hear Mrs. Pearson whisper to Aunt Sheila, "What does Christy do again? Is she still doing the trade stuff?" Aunt Sheila, "I think so. Something with pipes." I grip my cup until the plastic pops. 25 people. That is how many are watching when my father picks up that little mic again and turns toward me with a smile. "Christy." The yard drops down about half a degree quieter. "Your turn, sweetheart." I do not stand up. I stay right where I am with my hands wrapped around my lemonade. "I'm good, Dad. I'll sit this one out." He gives a little chuckle. "Come on now." Everyone else went. Do not be shy. 14 years of practice, say. Laugh it off, wave your hand, say just working hard and let the whole thing drift by. That is the playbook. That is how I have always survived these family events. Then Ryan leans back in his chair with that easy grin. "Yeah, come on, Christy. Tell everybody what is new in the pipe-fitting world." A ripple of laughter moves through the yard. Not everyone, but enough. Enough for me to feel it in my chest. Enough for Caleb to look up from his plate and smirk at his dad. Dad jumps in and his voice drops into that tone. The one he thinks sounds like he cares but is really just pity wearing a different shirt. "Seriously, honey, we all want to hear. What are you doing with your life these days?" I count the faces. Mr. Reyes, arms folded, glasses on. Mrs. Pearson, fork frozen in midair. Aunt Sheila leaning forward. Danielle staring at her plate. Pete over by the grill, jaw tight, waiting. Bianca watching me with steady eyes. Dad tilts his head and his voice goes even softer. "It is okay if you do not have anything big to share, Christy. We all understand." Not everyone, he does not finish that sentence. He does not have to. The yard fills in the blank on its own. Not everyone makes it. I hear Uncle Pete's voice in my head. "You do not owe that man your dignity." I hear Caleb's voice. "That's a real job?" I hear my mom's voice, clear as a Sunday morning. "Do not let anyone make you feel small." And under all of that, I hear my own voice. The one I have been sitting on for 12 years. The one I have practiced out loud in my truck on every dark highway drive home from one of these family events. So I stand up. I do not reach for the mic. "You want my wins, Dad?" He blinks. The whole yard stills. "Fine." I keep my voice the way I keep it on job sites, calm, clear, no room for confusion. I own a licensed plumbing and contracting business. I have 5 full-time employees. I own 8 rental properties across Maricopa County, all paid off, free and clear. A glass clicks against the table somewhere. Someone coughs. I have 0 debt. No mortgage. No student loans. No car payments. Nothing. I owe nobody anything. I pause. Let it breathe for a moment. My net worth as of last quarter is $1.4 million. Silence. Not the comfortable kind of silence that settles between people who understand each other. The other kind. Kind that changes the pressure in the air like something just cracked open and every single person in that yard felt it at exactly the same time and nobody knows quite what to say or where to look. The speaker is still playing old Garth Brooks, too low for anyone to really hear. Down the street somewhere, a kid is laughing. A dog barks twice. And 25 people stare at me like I just spoke in a language none of them have ever heard before. Dad's mouth opens, closes, opens again. What? 1.4 million? You asked. I set my lemonade down on the armrest. Nice and easy. Nobody claps. Nobody says congratulations. That is how I know it landed. 'Cause if I had said something small, something they could swallow easily, they would have smiled and moved on. But a number like that from the daughter they all wrote off? That does not get applause. That gets silence. Kind of silence that rewrites the whole room. Ryan's chair scrapes against the concrete. Melissa's hand goes flat on the table, knuckles pale. Uncle Pete takes a slow sip of his water and says absolutely nothing. He does not need to. And Dad just stands there with that little wireless mic hanging at his side, nothing left to say for the first time in 12 years. Quick pause right here. If you have ever been the one who got underestimated, who got written off, who sat in that corner chair year after year, hit like right now. And subscribe if you want more stories like this one. Okay. Back to what happened next. Ryan moves first. He stands up fast enough that his chair scrapes and nearly tips over. He does not bother picking it up. That is ridiculous. His voice is too loud for the moment. There is absolutely no way. Dad turns to me. Christy, is that actually true? Yes. Ryan steps forward. Doing what exactly? Running pipe? You do not even have a college degree. I look at him the way I look at a system that got wired up all wrong, with patience and just a little bit of pity. Real estate and contracting. 12 years of not spending money I did not actually have. Melissa's eyes drop to the table. Her fingers curl tight around her phone under the edge of her plate. Ryan shakes his head. Anyone can throw numbers around at a backyard cookout, Christy. That does not make them real. And then Uncle Pete's voice comes from the far end of the table like a door swinging open. She is not lying, Ryan. Ryan turns around. Pete is leaning against the back fence, arms crossed, with the kind of stillness that only comes from a man who has already decided he is completely done being polite about this. I have known this girl since before she could drive a car. I got her started in this trade. I have seen her books. I have walked through 3 of her properties myself. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. She is not lying. Ryan's jaw tightens. He looks at Dad. Looks at me. Looks back at Dad like he is waiting for someone to come in and take his side. But Dad is completely quiet. For the first time in as long as I can remember, Ray Navarro has no line ready to deliver. Ryan picks up his beer. Not everyone needs to turn a family cookout into a money contest. I hear what is under that sentence, tight, careful, like a man who is scared someone is about to turn the same question around on him. The yard breaks apart into side conversations. Nobody is eating anymore. People are leaning toward each other and talking quietly into their cups. I sit back down. Bianca slides her chair over and parks herself right next to me without a single word. Just shoulder to shoulder. Like she is planting a flag. Uncle Pete walks over and takes the folding chair on my other side. His knee pops when he sits down. He does not even flinch. You did right, he says quietly. He is going to tell everyone I made it up. Let him try. Pete takes a sip of his water. By the way, Dale confirmed it this morning. Ryan's Seattle house has been on the market for 3 weeks. Listed at $40,000 under what he paid for it. I stare at the tablecloth. I am not going to use that, I say. Nobody said you have to. But when a man calls you a liar in front of his whole family, it helps to know where his actual foundation is. Across the yard, Ryan is talking to Aunt Sheila, hands moving fast the way they do when he is selling something. Sheila is nodding, but her eyes drift over toward me 2 or 3 times. Mr. Reyes has taken off his glasses and is cleaning them slowly, which, in my experience, is what careful people do when they are in the middle of recalculating something they thought they had already figured out. Danielle catches my eye from near the dessert table. She mouths something I cannot quite make out. Then she looks away. And Dad is standing by that poster board with his arms at his sides, beer still untouched, looking like a man who just realized the show he wrote is not going the way he planned at all. Dad finds me near the drink table about 10 minutes later. He does not pull me aside gently. He steers me by the elbow the way you redirect someone who wandered somewhere they were not supposed to be. There are at least 4 people close enough to hear everything, and he does not seem to care one bit. "I do not know what kind of game you think you're playing," he says, keeping his voice low and tight. "But you embarrassed your brother in front of everybody." "He embarrassed me for 12 years, Dad." "That is completely different." "He was trying to push you forward." I look at him straight. "He told me I would end up broke." "He said that at Christmas dinner in front of the whole family." "Because we were worried about you." "A dad worries," I say. "He does not rank his daughter last on a poster board and make it a public show." He sets his jaw. "You did not have to come here and make all of this about money." "You made it about money, Dad. You wrote it on a poster board in blue marker." His face shifts just slightly, something behind it cracks for 1 second, and then he seals it right back up. And then he plays the card I always knew was coming. The one he saves for the very end. "Your mother would be ashamed of you right now." The words hit like a slap. A few people nearby go very still. Mrs. Pearson's hand stops halfway to her mouth. Uncle Pete, from halfway across the yard, goes completely rigid. Every part of me wants to walk away. Apologize. Smooth it over. Keep the peace the way I always have. I look at the photo of Mom on my phone's lock screen. Her at a 4th of July cookout years ago, holding a sparkler, laughing with one eye closed. And I decide, standing right there in that backyard in front of all of them, that I am done keeping the peace when it costs me everything else. I do not raise my voice. "Mom would not be ashamed of me, Dad." His mouth twitches. "Mom was proud of me every single day. She told me so on her last night." I was holding her hand. "You were out in the hallway." The yard is so still now that I can hear the canopy fabric moving in the breeze. "You want to know what she said to me?" She said, "Christy, you are the tough one. Do not ever let anyone make you feel small." That is what she said. Not to Ryan. Not to Danielle. To me. Something behind Dad's eyes wavers. The armor wobbles for just a split second. Then it locks back into place. But I am not done. I did not come here to win anything. I came because Mom asked me to keep this family together. But I cannot do that by pretending I have not built anything, just so you feel better about the story you tell people. Every face in that yard is pointed at me right now. And for the first time in 12 years, I do not look away from a single one of them. You asked for my wins. I gave you my wins. And instead of being proud, you told me to apologize. My voice does not shake. I have driven home in the dark rehearsing this exact sentence more times than I can count. I am done apologizing for being good at something you do not understand. I set my lemonade on the table. Stand up straight. Turn to face the whole yard. I am done. Nobody speaks. Ryan is frozen with his beer halfway to his mouth. Melissa's eyes are red. Mr. Reyes slowly unfolds his arms like a man watching something he did not expect to see. Uncle Pete stands up from his chair, says nothing, just stands there next to the fence like a post in the ground, making it clear without one word which side of this yard he is on. Bianca stands up right beside him. Then Danielle's voice, small and tight, cuts through the quiet. "Christy, please wait." But I am already walking. I do not make it to the gate. Because Ryan stands up behind me and his voice fills the yard the way it always does when he is losing ground. "You know what, everybody? louder now, working the crowd like he always does. My sister, the one without a college degree, just told us she is worth over $1 million running a plumbing company. You want to know what that really means? He says plumbing company the way some people say lottery ticket. It means she probably adds up the value of some beat-up rental houses she picked up cheap and calls it a portfolio. That is not real wealth. That is not building anything. That is just collecting rent checks and calling it success. A few people shift in their seats. Mr. Reyes puts his glasses back on. I stop walking, but I do not turn around. And then a voice cuts right through from the picnic table nearest the gate. Mrs. Pearson, 74 years old, 4'11", afraid of absolutely nobody. I do not know about all that, Ray, but that girl replumbed my entire house last fall. Found a leak my last contractor missed for 2 whole years. Did the whole job in 4 days. Charged me fair and showed up every single morning at 7 on the dot. She folds her arms across her chest. Honest, reliable, and she knows her work cold. That counts for something at this table. A few heads nod around the yard. Mr. Reyes says, quietly but clearly enough for everyone to hear, 8 properties free and clear in this housing market. That is not playing around. That is discipline. The yard is splitting right down the middle. I can feel it without even turning around. That slow, deep crack of a room full of people realizing the story they have been handed for years does not quite match the person standing in front of them. Then Melissa's phone buzzes on the table. She glances at the screen and her face, the carefully put-together designer sunglasses and big bag face, just falls apart all at once. Like someone finally pulled the pin. Ryan. Her voice is barely above a whisper. Stop. He turns. What? Just stop talking about money. Please. She is shaking. Ryan stares at her. Then at me. Then at a whole backyard full of people who are now staring at both of them. Melissa stands up. She does not look at anyone. She picks up her bag, says, I need a minute to nobody in particular, and walks into the house. The screen door bangs shut behind her. Nobody follows. Ryan sits back down slowly, like a man who just looked down and noticed the floor is made of glass. Dad clears his throat. His hand goes to Ryan's shoulder, the same spot it has been parked all afternoon, like a coach clinging to a player who is losing, and he looks at me. Christy, I think you owe your brother an apology. I turn around, standing about 10 feet from the table, facing all of them. For what? For making this whole thing about money. This was supposed to be about family. You made it about money, Dad. You wrote it on a poster board. He stiffens. I set this up to celebrate what your brother and sister have done, not for you to brag, I say. The word lands on him. Dad, you just spent 20 minutes applauding Ryan's pay package in front of the whole neighborhood. Then you put me on the spot and waited for everyone to watch me explain myself. I step forward one single step. I answered the question you asked me. That is not bragging. That is answering. Your mother would be ashamed of you, he says again. Same card. Same weapon pulled out twice in one afternoon. And this time Uncle Pete walks straight through it. He steps away from the fence, wipes his hands on the back of his jeans, and says, loud enough for every single person still in that yard to hear every word. Ray. Carol told Christy she was the strongest one in this whole family. She said it on her last night alive. I was in that room. I heard it with my own 2 ears. He pauses just long enough for it to settle. Don't you dare stand here and tell that girl what her mother would think. Dad goes white. I have never seen anyone take the ground right out from under Ray Navarro before. Nobody does that. But Pete just did. The yard is so quiet now that I can hear ice shifting in the cooler by the fence. I step back toward the table. Not to sit down. To finish. Dad. I am going to say this one time. He looks at me. His face is pale and tight, like a man sitting with something he cannot undo. I did not come here to embarrass anyone. I came because Mom asked me to keep this family together. I hold his gaze steady. But I cannot do that by pretending I have not built anything. You asked for my wins. I gave you my wins. You could have been proud. You chose to be angry. He opens his mouth. I am not finished. Closes it. I do not need your money. I do not need your approval. But I would like my father back. The one who took me to the hardware store every Saturday morning when I was little. The one who taught me all the names of the tools. The one who was actually kind. I pause. That man would not have done this to me. Dad's eyes drop to the grass. He is looking for something down there he is not going to find. I pick up my keys. I love you, Dad. But love does not mean I sit here and make myself smaller so your story about me still makes sense. I turn and walk toward the gate. Uncle Pete falls into step beside me. Bianca takes the other side. I have people. Christy, please. Danielle's chair scrapes hard on the concrete. Her voice is cracked open. Please, just wait a second. I stop. I look back. She is standing there with a crumpled napkin in her fist and mascara running down her face. I am sorry, she says. I should have said something years ago. I should have said something today. Yeah, I say. You should have. But I do not leave. 'Cause Danielle is crying. And I made a promise to my mother. I want to pause right here. If you have a sentence you have been holding back for years, one you have practiced alone but never actually said out loud, drop it in the comments below. Do not use real names. But write it down. Sometimes just seeing it written out is the very first step to saying it for real. After I stop at the gate, something changes back in the yard. Uncle Pete turns around and speaks to the group the way a man does when he has absolutely nothing left to prove and everything still left to say. I have known Christy since the day she was born. I put the first pipe wrench in her hand when she was 19. I have driven out to her properties. I have seen her actual tax returns. He does not blink once. She is telling the truth. Mr. Reyes leans forward with his elbows on the table. 8 rental properties free and clear in Maricopa County. In this interest rate environment, he pulls his glasses off and cleans them, and this time it is completely different from before. This time it is a man who spent 32 years in lending recalculating a person he thought he had already understood. That is serious equity. I mean really serious. Mrs. Pearson adds. She is honest, she shows up when she says she will, and she does the job right the first time. You cannot fake that kind of thing. The murmur in the yard has changed. It is not tense anymore. It is curious. People are doing math quietly in their heads and coming up with a different answer than the one they came in with. Dad is still standing by that poster board. Hands at his sides. Beer still untouched. He is watching the whole thing shift and he does not know how to stop it. He built the stage, he wrote the show, he handed out the mics. And now he is standing right in the middle of it all while the audience rewrites the entire script without him. Ryan has not moved from his chair. His blazer is hanging open. His face is the color of a gray overcast sky. His phone is face down on the table and he has not touched it in probably 20 minutes. No one is applauding the golden boy anymore. The screen door swings open. Melissa steps back outside. Sunglasses off, mascara smudged at the corners and completely done pretending. She walks straight over to Ryan and crouches down next to him. She probably thinks she is whispering. She is not. The bank sent the final notice. They are moving forward with the short sale. Ryan grabs her wrist. Not here, Mel. Then when? You have been keeping this from me for 6 months. 4 people at the closest end of the table catch every word. Mr. Reyes, Aunt Sheila, Bianca, Mrs. Pearson. Their faces go through that thing faces do when they have just heard something they were never meant to hear. Careful blank stillness and then the slow sideways glances at each other. Ryan stands up and steers Melissa toward the house. But the information is already spreading. A whisper to Aunt Sheila, who turns to Uncle Marcus, who leans toward Mr. Reyes. Short sale on the Seattle house. But he just bought a lake house. I thought he said life was really, really good. Mr. Reyes takes his glasses off. He is not cleaning them this time. He is just staring at the empty spot where Ryan was sitting. Dad hears it last. He always does. He spent the whole afternoon acting like he had the full picture of his kids' lives, and he was the last to know. His face does something I have never seen before. Confidence just drains right out of it. What is left underneath is something raw and confused, like a man who just realized the thing he has been holding up with both hands is hollow. I do not say a single word. The yard is doing all the math without me. Danielle finds me sitting alone on the back steps, away from everything. She comes and sits down next to me with her knees pulled up, chin on her arms. We stay quiet for a little while. I should have said something years ago, she says again. I was scared. If I ever pushed back on Dad, I knew I would become the next target. I do not argue with her on that. She is right. I know, I say. I owe $420,000 in student loans, she says then. Quiet. Like she has been holding that in all day waiting for a place to set it down. I turn and look at her. I will not break even until I am close to 50, she says. The papers, the fellowship, the hospital affiliation, it all looks amazing from the outside. She looks at her own hands. But I am underwater, Christy. I have been for a long time. A doctor at one of the best medical centers in the country, carrying over $400,000 in debt. Ryan is in the exact same spot, she says. Different versions, same problem. The Tesla, the lake house, the private school tuition, none of it was paid for. All of it borrowed. And Dad had no idea because we look the part. We are really good at looking the part. She pauses. You are the only one of us who is not underwater. I sit with that for a moment. There is one more thing, she says. Dad borrowed $75,000 from Ryan about 2.5 years ago. When this house was close to going into foreclosure, Ryan took out a personal loan to cover it. Dad called it a family investment and said he would pay it back. Did he? Not $1. So that is what all the fresh paint and new pavers are about. $75,000 of Ryan's debt hanging on those walls like a second mortgage that nobody in this yard knew about. Mom knew, Danielle says softly. About your business. About what you were actually building. She told me one time, Danielle's voice tightens, she said, Christy does not need anyone's permission to get started. She is going to be just fine. She swallows. She already knew. I press my palm against the warm concrete step and just breathe. Danielle and I walk back into the yard together. Not arm in arm. Just side by side. Which turns out to be more than enough. Crowd has thinned down to maybe 15 people. Cousins left first. Now it is just the core, neighbors, aunts, uncles, the people who have watched this family across decades and always felt like the story being told about us was somehow thinner than the actual truth. Mr. Reyes sees me and walks straight over. No hesitation at all. Christy, I spent 32 years in commercial lending. Residential, commercial, investment properties all across the Southwest. I have looked at portfolios from clients twice your age that do not come anywhere close to what you described today. He puts his hand on my shoulder and means it. 8 properties, 0 debt in this market. That is serious, serious work. You should be very proud of yourself. Mrs. Pearson comes right behind him and takes both my hands in hers. Your mama raised you right, honey. Do you hear me? She squeezes once, firm and certain, then lets go. I nod because my throat has gone too tight for words. Dad is sitting alone at the head of the table now. Sandra is clearing plates around him and he is just sitting there, hands flat on the tablecloth, staring at the poster board like it owes him something. Navarro family wins round. Poster board he wrote himself 3 weeks ago in his own kitchen, thinking he knew exactly how this whole afternoon would go. Sandra passes by me on her way back into the house. She stops. Looks at me with something I have genuinely never seen from her before, not warmth exactly, but recognition. Like she is seeing me as a whole person for the very first time. I did not know, she says quietly. He never told me any of it. What you had built. How hard you worked. She shakes her head. I am sorry, Christy. She goes inside. My phone buzzes. It is Keisha. Quarterly report is all wrapped up. Also congrats on the 9th property. Closing is confirmed for Thursday. 9th. And not one single person at this table today knew about any of them. I put my phone away and walk over to where Dad is sitting. The little mic is lying next to his plate like something that has completely lost its purpose. Dad. He raises his head. His eyes are red. He looks 10 years older than he did 3 hours ago. I am going to say this one time. He looks at me. I did not come here to take anything from you. I came because Mom asked me to. I hold his gaze. But I am not coming back to a table where my success gets treated like a problem and Ryan's gets treated like a parade. Not next Thanksgiving. Not next summer. Not ever. He opens his mouth. Let me finish. Closes it. If you want me in this family, you treat me the same exact way you treat Ryan. Same respect. Same pride. Every holiday, every cookout, every phone call. That is the deal. Or I walk. My voice does not shake. This is not anger. This is a boundary, clean, steady, and not open for discussion. I do not need your money. I do not need your approval. But I would like my dad back. The one who took me to the hardware store every Saturday when I was a little kid. The one who was actually kind. I pause. That man is still somewhere in there. I would really like to see him again. Dad's chin trembles just once. Then he locks it back down. Old habit. I pick up my keys. I love you. But love does not mean I make myself smaller, so your story about me still adds up. I turn toward the gate. Behind me, barely above a breath, he says, Christy. I stop. I do not turn around. I heard you, Dad. And I keep walking. Ryan and Melissa come out of the house 10 minutes later. They head straight for the gate without stopping at the table. Ryan's blazer is draped over his arm, sleeves rolled up, nothing like how he arrived. He looks like a man leaving somewhere he never expected to be humbled. He sees me standing by my truck. We look at each other across the driveway for a long, quiet moment. You win, he says. His voice is flat and worn out. This was never a competition, Ryan. I mean that completely. He holds my gaze for 3 seconds. Then something in his jaw loosens just barely and he looks away. Tesla backs out smooth and quiet. No wave. No honk. Just tail lights shrinking down the street. Dad stands on the porch and watches until it is completely gone. For the first time all afternoon, he does not look like the referee. He does not look like the judge or the man running the scoreboard. He looks like what he actually is, a 65-year-old retired man standing on a porch his son paid to keep, watching his family scatter in 3 separate directions. He looks old. I almost feel something for him. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the kind of ache you get when you look at something that used to be solid and realize nobody has been taking care of it for a long time. Did not have to end up this way. But here we are. The last guests leave slowly. Mr. Reyes stops by my truck and hands me a card from his wallet. You ever need a reference for commercial lending, investment property, construction financing, anything at all, you call me. I mean every word of that. I take the card and thank him. Mrs. Pearson gives me a hug so real and full it presses my cheek to her shoulder. Bianca is the last one to find me. She holds on for a good long while, and when she finally lets go, she says very quietly, "You have been carrying all of that alone for way too long." She is not wrong. Uncle Pete walks over and puts his hand on my shoulder and just leaves it there for a moment. "You kept your promise," he says. "You showed up. You told the truth." He pauses. "Carol would have been so proud of you today, kid." I get in my truck. Turn the key. The engine catches on the first try, the same as always. I sit there for a minute looking at the house through the windshield. White stucco, the porch light on, the window where my bedroom used to be. This is the house where I learned to ride my bike. Where Mom taught me to bake. Where Dad used to put me on his shoulders at the county fair so I could see over the heads of the whole crowd. I pull out onto the street and I do not look back. This story hit you in a place you were not expecting. Share it. Text it to a friend. Post it. Send it to your sibling. Someone in your circle needs to hear this today. And subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. I thought that cookout was the end of it. It was not even close. The next 2 weeks roll out like dominoes in a house nobody knew was made of them. Ryan and Melissa's Seattle house goes through the short sale. The final number comes in $46,000 under what they paid for it. Ryan's equity disappears overnight. They move into a 2-bedroom rental in Bellevue while they try to figure out what comes next. At work, Ryan's title gets reshuffled. Senior director becomes senior manager. Same desk, smaller bonus, smaller authority. His LinkedIn still shows the old title. But the people who matter know what happened. Back in the neighborhood, that cookout becomes the only thing anyone is talking about. The Navras. Plumbing daughter who turned out to have more money than anyone sitting at that table. The finance director who was in the middle of losing his house. The dad who set up a scoreboard and got outscored by the exact kid he spent 12 years counting out. I hear it through Uncle Pete. Through Mrs. Pearson. Through a client who brings it up during a water heater job in Scottsdale like it is just common neighborhood knowledge. "You're that Navarro girl, right? I heard all about that cookout." 3 new contracts come in that same month. Word of mouth from people who were there or heard it from someone who was. Danielle calls on a Tuesday night and we talk for almost 3 hours straight. It is the longest real conversation we have had in years. She cries. I do not, but it is close. "Can you connect me with your accountant?" she asks. "Keisha, right? I need a real plan. An actual one." "I will set it up," I tell her. "Thank you, Christy." "Do not thank me. Just show up." Dad does not call. Does not text. 3.5 weeks of silence. Thick and complete, like the kind of quiet that sits over everything after a big storm when you are still not sure what got knocked down. I do not chase it. I spent 12 years chasing his approval. I know exactly what that chase costs. The call comes on a Wednesday evening when I am driving home from a job out in Mesa. Dad's name on the screen. I let it ring twice, then I pick up. "Christy." His voice is different. Smaller. Like someone let the air slowly out of it. "I need to talk to you." "Go ahead." A long pause. Kind that happens when someone has been rearranging words in their head for days trying to get them in the right order. I did not know about Ryan's house. About Danielle's loans. I honestly thought they were both doing just fine. He breathes out slowly. "And I did not actually know about you." "Not really. I knew you worked hard. But I never believed someone could do what you did without a degree," I finish for him. "Yeah." Another long pause. That is what I believed. That a degree was the only real path. 'Cause it was the thing I never got for myself. The thing I wanted so badly for all 3 of you. His voice breaks just slightly. "Your mother told me." Before she passed. She said, "Ray, Christy is going to surprise you one day." Do not miss it. He breathes. I missed it. I missed all of it. I want to say it is okay. But it is not. Not yet. I appreciate you calling, Dad. But words alone do not fix 12 years. We are going to need time. He is quiet for a moment. Okay, he says. That is fair. 2 months after the cookout, I open my laptop and find an email from Ryan sitting in my inbox. No subject line at all. Just words. I read it standing at my kitchen counter with my coffee going cold. Christy, I know what I have put you through over the years. I am not looking for forgiveness right now. I just need you to know that I was jealous. I was jealous because you did it your own way and it worked. And I did everything they said I was supposed to do, the degree, the title, the salary, the whole image, and now I am starting all the way over at 38. I spent 15 years trying to be the son Dad wanted me to be. And the only one of the three of us who actually built something real is the one I treated the worst for all those years. I read it a second time, then a third. Jealous. My brother, the finance director, the college graduate, the one Dad introduced first at every single gathering, jealous of the sister who fixes pipes for a living. I do not respond that day. Or the next. On the morning of the third day, I sit down and write, Ryan, thank you for being honest. I am not ready for a real relationship with you yet. But I do not hate you. When you are ready to actually talk, I will be here. I hit send. 20 minutes later, 2 words come back. Thank you. The first honest thing he has sent me in probably 12 years. It is not much. But it is real. And right now, real is more than enough. 6 months go by. I close on property number 9 in November, a duplex in Chandler that needs a new roof and a full plumbing job from start to finish. My kind of project. I bring on a 6th employee, a 23-year-old named Marcus who reminds me a lot of myself at that age. Quiet, careful, shows up 15 minutes early without fail every single day. Danielle calls every Sunday. We talk about her fellowship applications, her payoff plan, how exhausting the schedule is. Keisha set her up on a 12-year aggressive payoff schedule. She is already a month ahead of it. I sold the BMW, she tells me one Sunday night. How does it feel? Like I can finally breathe again. Ryan and I do not call each other yet. But on Christmas Eve, a card shows up in my mailbox. Small, plain envelope. His handwriting careful and small, nothing like the big moves he always used to make. Thinking of you this Christmas. Ryan. No title after his name. No LinkedIn-style intro. Just 5 words and his name. I put it on my refrigerator. Dad calls 2 weeks before Christmas and asks if I want to get dinner. Just us. No Ryan, no Danielle, no Sandra. No audience. Where? I ask. That little diner out on Route 89. The one your mom always liked. I almost say no. I sit there with the phone in my hand for a full minute. Then I hear Mom's voice in my head as clear as daylight. Do not let this family fall apart. Tuesday at 7, I tell him. I get there first. Dad comes in 3 minutes after me, spots me in the booth, stops for just a second, and then walks over and pulls out the chair across from me. For once, it does not feel like anything is being set up. You look good, Christy. Thanks, Dad. We order. He gets the pot roast. I get the club sandwich. We do not talk directly about the cookout. He starts with something I am not expecting at all. Tell me about the rental properties. Start from the very beginning. So I do. I tell him about the first one, a foreclosure in Glendale I bought when I was 29 for $68,000 cash. I replumbed the whole thing myself with Pete's help over 3 weekends. First tenant moved in about a month after that. He listens. He really listens. No cutting in. No comparing. No, Ryan would have done it differently. When I finish, he puts his fork down and looks at me. Your mother was right about you. She was right about a lot of things, I say. He nods slowly. I cannot fix what I did, Christy. I know that. No, you cannot. But can I try to do better going forward? I look at him across that diner table. This man who hurt me for 12 years. Who put me at the bottom of a scoreboard he built himself. Who is also the same man who bought me my very first toolbox when I was 9 years old. Who stood in the rain at Mom's funeral and did not let go of my hand even after everyone else had gone back inside. You can try, I say. But if you go back to comparing us, if you treat Ryan's life like front-page news and mine like a footnote, I will walk. And I will not come back. He nods once. Slow and clear. Fair. In the parking lot, he looks at my truck. Does not say a word about it. Drive safe, Christy. You too, Dad. I take the long way home. 2 hours of dark desert highway, windows cracked open, nothing but the road and my own thoughts. I think about the past year. For 12 years, I believed that if I just kept building, kept showing up, kept doing the work, eventually they would see me. They did not. Not because I was hard to see. Because the story they had already written about me was a whole lot more comfortable than the truth would ever be. Dad needed someone in the family to be the cautionary tale so his worldview still made sense. Ryan needed someone to look down on so he could feel taller. And I let them do it. For 12 years, I stayed in the background and played the role they wrote for me without ever auditioning for it. The second I stopped asking for their permission was the second I started building something that was actually real. I am not where I am because I am smarter than Ryan or Danielle. I am here because I stayed inside what I actually earned. I put money into things I understood with my own 2 hands. And I never once spent $1 trying to impress people who did not respect me in the first place. The nice car. The big title. The lake house. The private school tuition. Those things all cost money. But they cost something even harder to put a number on, the freedom to say no. Ryan could not say no to the lifestyle. Could not say no to the scoreboard. And now he is starting all over again in a rental apartment at 38. I pull into my own driveway and kill the engine. My house is small. 3 bedrooms. A garage I converted into my workshop. A backyard I put in myself over 3 different weekends. Nobody is going to write it on a poster board and hold it up at a cookout. But every nail in it, every dollar that paid for it, every hour of work that made it possible, that is mine. Every single bit of it. If you are listening to this and you are the one your family underestimates, the one who took the road they did not recognize, who built something real that they could not see until it was impossible to ignore, I am not going to tell you what to do. But I will tell you what I know for certain. The opinions of people who do not respect you are not worth rearranging your whole life around. This is mine. I built it. And that is more than enough. It has been 14 months since that cookout. Here is where everybody is right now. Danielle and I talk every single Sunday. She is my person now in a way she never was before. She is 11 months into her payoff plan and 8 months ahead of schedule. Last week she texted me a photo of a little floating shelf she built and hung on her own wall. Slightly crooked. Solid as anything. Apparently it runs in the family, she wrote underneath it. Ryan and I are civil. He started seeing a therapist back in the fall, which honestly took real guts, and I respect it. He moved back to Arizona, a quieter position at a smaller company, regular hours, nothing to perform. Last time I saw him, he was in jeans and a plain shirt. No blazer, no Tesla, no production. He looked tired. But he looked honest. And honest suits him so much better than any VP title ever did. Dad and I have dinner once a month. Some nights are easy. Some nights are a little stiff. But he is trying. Last week he ran into one of his old friends at a gas station and I happened to be with him. He turned to that man without hesitating and said, "This is my daughter, Christy. She owns her own contracting business. 8 rental properties, all paid off. No qualifier. No, but she never finished school. No footnote. Just the truth, said out loud like he was proud of it. Poster board, he threw it away. And me? I just confirmed the closing on property number 10. Marcus got his journeyman's license last month and I took him out for the best steak dinner in all of Phoenix to celebrate. Keisha says the portfolio is a full year and a half ahead of where it should be. Uncle Pete tells me I work too hard, which is just his way of saying he could not possibly be more proud. My name is Christy Navarro. I am 32 years old. I do not have a college degree, but I have something better. I have my own definition of what success looks like. And I built it with my own hands on my own terms without waiting for anyone's permission. Nobody gets to write my story but me. If this story meant something to you, if you have ever been the one they wrote off, the one who sat in the corner chair, the one who built something real while everyone looked the other way, share this video right now. Text it. Post it. Send it to someone who needs to hear it today. And drop a comment below. Where are you watching this from? What city, what country, what time is it there right now? I read every single comment. Everyone. Some of your stories in the comments are honestly better than mine, and I mean that. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a story. New ones drop every week. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next one.